This initiative is designed and supported by your district leadership and especially by our club growth team. They have come together and they have focused on clubs that are struggling with members. There's clubs out there that need your help. They need your ideas, they need your thoughts, and they need your support. So thank you for coming to give that to them. We are here to help you. We have gathered a team of experts. I call them growth experts. They have been through the fire, they have done their research, they have the experience, and guess what? They have decided to come and share it with all of you. So without further ado, I welcome you to the Club Growth Initiative, and I would love to introduce to you your wonderful team members for today. We have Tiffany Gunter. She is a Toastmaster and she is involved in 3 Toastmaster clubs and she enjoys winning speech contests. She may be out there waiting to compete against you. She is a member of Early Bird Ocala, that is her home club. And when she's not in Toastmasters, she teaches public speaking to youth and adults. Her favorite way to grow is listening to audiobooks. Love it. Thank you for being here with us, Tiffany. We
Thank you.
also have Gina Hansen. She is seriously overcaffeinated keynote speaker and a crazily competitive board game geek. Welcome to Gina. She is the author of Self-Constructed, a course on confidence, because helping people stand in their truth is flipping awesome. If you're in the people business, and who of us isn't, Gina's your game changer. Welcome, Gina. We also have Hashim Francis. He is currently our club extension chair for District 84. He is an entrepreneur, he's a best-selling author, he's recognized industry thought leader, and he's an expert on executive business and leadership development. Hashim Francis has authored over 14 best-selling books, and he's here to share with us. Welcome, Hashim. We also have Amanda Cross, our current club growth director. She has been working hard to help us grow clubs and to retain members. This team tonight has gathered together and they are ready to go. Welcome our team of experts. Hashim.
So jumping into the presentation, we're going to move into, Amanda, if you can move the screen, you can hear me. So we're going to jump into the first presentation of creating a club growth environment. The first presenter will be Tiffany Gunter. So Tiffany, I'll turn it over to you.
The other day, I'm watching a TikTok video for no good reason is all. It was clickbait. I took the bait. And this video was showing a blue crab molting. I couldn't look away. The narrator was explaining how crabs will take on seawater inside their exoskeleton to balloon their shell, which will make it crack at the top. And that is when they begin to emerge out the back and squeeze themselves like they're taking off a wet suit that's too small. Their eyes have to come out, all of their mouth parts, all of their legs. And this really surprised me. Part of their stomach lining and their intestine has to detach. So they are very, very careful. And the last thing that comes out is their big blue claws. Once out, their new shell is super soft and therefore vulnerable to predators for quite some time. But they are now 20% larger. You know, the Latin word for fast growth is ouch. 20% growth. That is growth galore. And sometimes that's how growth feels. Unlike a molting crab, how am I going to know when I am growing? And is there an alternative to fast growth? How about slow growth? More like a manatee Manatee babies are in their mama's womb for 13 months. That's a long gestation. And then they hang out with their mom for 2 years, floating around nice and slow, growing 1%, growing 2% at a time. Sometimes that's how growth feels. Unlike a manatee, which can be measured with a tape measure, how do I know that I am growing? Will you please put in the chat a time that you created something in your club? For instance, I recently created a LinkedIn post and I created this speech. And if you aren't thinking of anything that you created recently, you could put a creation that another club did. Go ahead and add those. And while you're doing that, I want to go over how we can create a welcoming environment in our clubs. You know, the new guests and the new speakers come to us, and they are often terrified that they are going to be asked to grow at 20% increments. And they want to know that they're going to be supported, that they can go at their own pace, and they want a manatee nursery. Now, contrast that with other speakers in clubs, and they are wanting to grow at 20% a pop. They want to do podcasts. They want to do webinars. They want to write a book and create social presence. They want to grow like a crab. And it is challenging to create an environment for both kinds of speakers. But we can communicate to our club guests and our regulars that we understand their particular goals. When everybody in the club feels seen and heard and understood, that's a welcoming environment. It doesn't matter if they grow like a manatee or a crab. The environment and the culture that we create will treat individuals as unique. Ideally, it will remove pressure to look like anybody else. And we want to be sure that we're creating those environments that will help collaboration, teamwork, and problem solving, because people can feel like they're coming at a place of strength. Thank you for adding what I see in the chat. Very good things here. How can we tell as a club that we are growing? Besides the obvious number crunching, how can we sense growth as a club? I have a tool. I have brought with me today Bloom's taxonomy. In the 50s, some researchers wanted to figure out how to teach teachers to get information into a new pupil, a student body, and they needed to have a matrix and a way to do that. And they discovered that at the base of mental learning and mental growth is remembering. So let's apply Bloom's taxonomy to club growth, and that's how we'll know that we're growing. For instance, are we remembering? Things that we can remember. Reach out to 5 people each week about the club. Remember the story of our club and our history. Understanding our club's brand. Do we know what really makes us unique? Do we understand it? So remembering's at the base. Understanding is a little more challenging. Next, we can apply. Apply by checking with members to see if they are having experiences in Toastmasters that apply to their life. Is Toastmasters translating to their life? And above applying is analyzing. So why do we do what we do in this club? What are the pros and what are the cons? That takes a little more effort, a little more brain cells, and we're on our way to evaluating. We are Toastmasters. We know how to evaluate. We have contests for evaluating. So we can take surveys to evaluate. We can get outside eyes. A very small key can open a very large door. In our home club, Gina and mine, we would like to ask guests who've only been there 1 hour to evaluate us. And we get very insightful observations from fresh eyes. I want to pause here. Under remembering and understanding, applying and analyzing and evaluating, the tippy top, the synthesis of all other levels is to create. It's an entirely different ballgame. We will know that we know that we know that we are growing in our club if we are creating something brand new. And when I say creating, I do not mean perfecting. Done is a lot more profitable than perfect. Status quo is the name of the bench that we sit on when we talk about perfection. For status quo, forget about perfection, just create. For instance, we could create a list of people that we can call, 5 people every week to call. We can create themes of growth. We can create guest speaker events. Many of the things that you already shared in the chat, you saw there were some flyers there. The creation adds value to others. And when we're adding value, we are creating a momentum, which helps others to create. They can ride that momentum. And once something is created, well, then we can remember it. Then we can understand it and apply and analyze it. We have to create something first. We have to create something to have anything to evaluate. So, you know what I did with Bloom's taxonomy? Confession. Oh, I remembered to understand. I enjoyed applying. Analyzing is my game, and I could be an armchair evaluator all day long. Once I got to that point, I stopped. Very often, I do not want to cross over into that realm of creation because that's part's hard. And because I have Bloom's taxonomy, I can see where I am on this pyramid. And if it's a new skill, such as humor and joke writing, well, I'm way down at the bottom of remembering. And there's no shame there. All growth is growth. 1%, 2%, 20%. But I realized that I would rather hang out in the evaluation and not go any further. But when I jump into the creation and I make a first draft and I take a stab at it, even though I've been rushed, I wish circumstances were better, and I create something, my growth explodes. We can see the manatees and the crabs, and it's so easy to talk about how easy it is to create. Oh yeah, just create something, right? Have you heard of the book 0 to 1? That's the title. It is so much harder to go from 0 to 1 than it is to go from 1 to 2. In the book Atomic Habits, there is this concept that if we can spend 2 minutes doing something that we would rather procrastinate on, that often will get us past the procrastination hurdle, and we'll end up with 10 or 15 minutes if we can just sit down and apply ourselves for 2 minutes. In David Allen's book, Getting Things Done, he has a 2-minute. When you're looking at the avalanche of things to do, you have to create. Find the things that will only take you 2 minutes and do those. Do those immediately. You don't have to file them away for later. So creation is the most difficult part, but it's worth it because that's where the growth happens. And you know that feeling when you all put things in the chat there that you had created, please remember how it felt to do so in your mind, in your bones. And we can get back to that feeling. You've already got it in your bones. You've already been riding those tricycles and riding those rails. So take what you're creating and create it again. Loosen up the gears, oil them, and get back to what you already know and keep that creation going. J.K. Rowling wrote, "It is our choices that show what we truly are far more than our abilities." Choose to live at the top and create. You can't create growth itself, right? That would be great. If it were in a bottle, I'd buy it. What we can do is create these growth habits that will feed the atmosphere of an ocean of possibilities, whether or not you're a manatee or a crab. Thank you all.
Thank you, Tiffany. We appreciate that. We're going to move on to the next portion of our presentation, which will be presented by Gina Hansen. She will be discussing developing club leaders. Turn it over to you, Gina.
Thank you very, very much. All right, next slide, please, Amanda. And let's just dig in. I talk fast, so when you get the recording, play me back on half speed. What I want to talk about today is the type of leader that you are, and then what growth stage your club is in, how to find your new leadership or raise up your new set of leaders, and then how to actually do leadership, not just theirs, but yours as well. So what type of leader are you? I'm going to go through the 8 styles, and you're going to see yourself firmly planted in 1, 2, maybe 3 different seats. And then we'll compare that on where that lines up with the growth stages of your clubs. So coach, very much one-on-one. That's how they operate. That's how they think best. Visionary, big, huge vision out there. This is where we're going. Get on board. Servant leadership, exactly what it sounds like. Servant leadership. Autocratic, head honcho, top of the pyramid, in charge. Democratic, equal vote, equal voice. Pace setter, big, huge goals. Transformational, think different. And transactional, work really hard, very action item based. So you'll, like I said, you're probably going to know what type of leader you are, and there's no good or bad. They're just different for different growth stages. So let's go through the growth stages. This Venn diagram shows the 4 main growth stages of a club, actually almost any organization. There's startup, pivot, relaunch, and cultivate. And we'll walk through what those are and then what type of leadership aligns up best with those different stages. So you'll notice that startup and pivot work with the same, I call them old guard, but it's the original people. So there doesn't need to be a change in leadership for those 2 stages. Where cultivate and relaunch usually involves new guard. And then on the left side of the diagram, startup and cultivate, that's building up or harnessing the really good energy that's in both of those transformational stages. And then the pivot or the relaunch, there's a replacing of energy. So there's a removing of the old energy and replacing with the new. So let's deal with startup first. Startup, that's, everybody knows what a startup is. It's a startup, like, woohoo, we're brand new, we're getting going, we're a startup. It's old guard. It's not really old. It's the same original people that are doing that startup. And it's a building up and harnessing of that good energy and moving it forward. Pivot. A pivot club is a club that something has happened to. Can be internal, could be external. For instance, maybe you had a really great leader who left, or maybe your club lost their space and had to move, or maybe COVID hit. Or maybe there was a huge conflict that divided your club in half, but something happened and now the club needs to pivot. So leadership is great. We use the same leadership, but the energy's changed and we need to replace that energy and move that out and then replace it with some really good energy. Relaunch. The difference between a pivot and a relaunch, think hostile takeover, think usually the problem is internal with the top leadership, which is why it requires a new guard coming in and then a removing of that old energy and a replacing with new energy. So that's what a relaunch is. And then cultivate. Cultivate is a club typically has gone through a massive growth stage and needs to be loved. And it needs a new guard because the same leader that took you through that massive growth stage is not going to be the same leader to maintain and love on the club. Think if you've gone from 20 people to 50 people in 6 months, if you don't love on your members and switch around and pull up a different leadership style and keep on doing that kind of growth, you will actually have a string of dead bodies behind you. So you want to line up the leadership with the different levels of growth stage. So here's a very broad summary of what types of leadership styles work with the different growth stages. Startup, pace setter, visionary. Big, huge goals. This is where we're going. Pivot, transformational, think different, and coach, very one-on-one with a pivot, because usually you're dealing with a smaller group. Relaunch, autocratic, transactional. You need somebody who says, that doesn't work and we're not doing that anymore. This is what we're doing, get on board. And it has to be that type of person that can that is okay with doing that. So a little more on the disagreeable side versus the agreeable side, that autocratic, transactional. Cultivate servant, democratic, equal vote, equal voice. Those leadership styles measure really or align really well with those growth stages. Now, moving down into wealth determiner. A wealth determiner, those are your wild cards. Here's what they are. It is a person that is sometimes young, but maybe not, usually unpolished, unpedigreed, maybe the wrong side of the tracks, maybe a high school dropout, maybe economically, not as doing well economically, might be somebody that maybe is a woman that's come out of a bad divorce. Here's what they have in common. They all have something to prove. And I want you to be able to recognize it, because many people see just the outside edges that are a little unpolished, and they don't see the potential and the leadership that's in there. And I want you to recognize what they are, because when you do, you can hitch your wagon to that person and you can let them run. And they're going to run like crazy, and they're going to fall on their face. And you pick them up and you dust them off, polish a little bit of the edges, and let them run again. And you see that brash, uncouth kid that all of a sudden is running everything and doing a great job. That is a wealth determiner. So I want you to know what that wild card looks like. All right, Amanda, can you give me my next one? Our next slide. Okay, let's talk about, once you know your wealth determiners and once you've determined your club stage and your leadership styles that you want to enhance and pull out, let's talk about what leadership looks like today. So leadership used to look like this. We knew who was in charge. We knew who was at the top of that pyramid. But because of computers, technology, COVID, all kinds of forces, our world has really changed, where leadership is much more linear and less hierarchical and looks more like either this or this. And instead of being, I'm in charge and we do things my way, you see a lot more of, I support you and you help support our club. So it's more of a supporting thing. And I like to look at leadership this direction. If I support you, you can support your friends and families, the clubs get supported, and everything sort of works. Again, it's not servant leadership. It just looks different. It's not so much this anymore of, in order to get anything done, I have to go through 10 layers to get up to the top. All right, moving over to the law of the lid. Have you ever worked in a place where you raised up in leadership and then you hit the wall, the ceiling? And you knew that the only way to continue to grow personally and professionally was to step out from under that leadership and continue on up. If that happened to you, you experienced the law of the lid. Great book by John Maxwell, or great snippet out of a book by John Maxwell. Go grab it. It's a chapter in there. It's a couple of pages. The lowest level of leadership is do it because if you don't, you're going to get in trouble. The highest level of leadership is I inspire you to greatness and I raise up other leaders, and you follow because you are inspired to follow internally. It's the highest level of leadership. Now, here's the thing with the law of the lid. If you're going to raise up leaders, you have to keep your level of leadership either one step ahead or provide massive opportunity. Either one of those will work, but or both. But if you don't, you will raise up leadership. You will raise up your wild cards and you will do leadership this way, and they're going to bump up against you and they will leave. And they should, because we're always looking for who is that great leader that we can work with so that we can continue to personally and professionally grow. All right, moving down to the bottom. Can't see on my screen. I need to move this up a little bit. There we go. Creative conflict. Oh, let's talk about that for a second. When you raise up strong leaders that have a heart and a passion for anything, in this case, the club, you're going to have conflict. You're going to have creative conflict. You're going to have some of this. Expect it, because it's going to happen. But the cool thing is, if you have your hearts and your heads pointed the same direction and you've cast the vision and we know where we're going, all it is I don't understand the methodology that you are doing to get from here to there. So my favorite thing to do when I have creative conflict, one, I expect it. Two, I get face to face, belly to belly, and we have a conversation about it one-on-one first. And then if we have to, 2 or 3 with one, and then the whole group, but first one-on-one. And my favorite phrase is this: help me understand. Just help me understand. I need to understand why you're thinking the way that you're thinking or what you're doing. And if I can, then I know what to do on my side. And then the very last one in the center, don't be afraid to admit that you're human. Here's the thing. You have to, if you're going to change a pivot club, it requires not tentative little tiny steps, but big, huge steps. And some of those steps go around corners and you can't see around corners. So you're going to make mistakes. It's okay. I can work underneath the leader all day long that said, I made a mistake. This is what I learned from it. And this is what I'm going to do different so it doesn't happen again. I'm going to make new and interesting mistakes my next time around. So if I could leave you with anything, I'm going to leave you with these action plans. 1, marry your leadership style to your growth stage. Super important, pull up those styles that align up with the growth stages. 2, look for your wild cards. They're out there. Look for them. Don't let your eye miss those. Number 3, support them. Just support them. 4, stay one step ahead of them or provide massive opportunity. And 5, expect creative conflict. Your phrase here is help me understand. And that's how you raise up and develop the next level of leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Wonderful job. Wonderful job. Now we are moving to the next portion of our presentation, sharing the Toastmasters experience. I will be your presenter. So I hope you guys are ready. I have some questions I want to pose to you. This is going to be an interactive training session. Question I want to pose to the audience. Do you feel like you really belong to your club? Like really belong? When you speak about your club, do you say my club or the Toastmasters Club? You can raise your hand on, I can see the video. You also have a little icon that you can put to raise your hand. Another question I want to ask the audience. When was the last time you invited someone to a Toastmasters meeting? Okay, it takes silence. We can go into the next slide, please. Sharing the Toastmasters experience is not about the club. It's all about the members, making sure the members feel like they're belonging. I'm gonna tie all 3 of these presentations together, creating a club growth environment, developing the leadership skills. By sharing your Toastmasters experience would say just your journey within Toastmasters. I'll share a story with you. It was a very potent story that was shared with me on this past Monday during our club meeting. There was a gentleman that joined our club about 6 months ago. Was new to the club, came in, became an active member of the club. Most people think if someone fill out an application, that means they're an active member. In order to be considered an active member, they have to participate within the club environment. So this gentleman joined about 6 months ago, came in, filled in some functionary roles. We had the club contest coming up, the humorous speech and international speech contest coming up. Some of the members, some of the senior members within that club took it upon themselves to mentor or coach this young man and give him the inspiration to feel like he had what it takes to compete in the contest. So the young man met with the mentor, the coach, to figure out how he'll present during a humorous speech contest. He won at the club level. Now it's time for him to compete at the area level. The young man ended up winning the area contest for humorous speech. He showed up at club on Monday, came in with his trophy, very proud, very happy, very excited. You can see something beaming from him, a confidence. So the club president asked him a couple questions to share with the club members what the experience was like about competing. So he shared the things he did, how he met with a mentor, a coach, how he watched YouTube videos, how he watched comedians. Afterwards, I seen a young man looking at me the whole time during the club meeting. Like, why is this guy looking at me? Okay, you won. I understand you won, young fella. You won. Congratulations. So after the meeting, as we're walking out of the club, I see he wanted to have a personal one-on-one meeting with me. So I stepped to the side just to listen to him. And he said, "This is the first trophy I ever won in my life. I never won anything in my life. It touched my heart to where I was like, wow, as an adult, someone took pride in just receiving a trophy. And I said, wow. But I'm not the one to think small. I said, that's great you have that trophy. But now you're going to the district, you're competing at a higher level. So there's more awards to win. There's more competition to be done. But that experience alone, him sharing that with me, to know this was his first time winning an award, we built a connection. And I was able to offer some inspiration. And that is what you call inspiring new members. When someone joins a club, inspire them, give them some hope, share your challenges, your setbacks, some of the success that the club is having. And also the club identity. Every club that I visited when I was area director, I would listen out or I would look around the room to see if the banner was displayed. The banner with the awards on it. I think every club should have that displayed during their meeting. It shows a sense of pride in the club achievements, because not one banner or one award on that banner is for an individual achievement. It's actually for the team, the club members coming together to serve the club to win those awards. Question for you guys. What is your club identity? What is your club known for? If I was to come to you, Pim Parapet, and say, what is the identity of your club? What would you say?
I belong to a Peace Talkers Toastmasters Club. So our identity is we talk peace.
Talk peace. Thank you. Marie Loeffler, if I was to say, what is the identity of your club? What would you say?
Well, we meet at 7:30 in the morning and we call ourselves a box of puppies. So we have a lot of fun while we encourage each other.
Okay. Now I'm gonna put someone on the spot. This is what I do when I give a presentation because this is interactive. I think you learn better by interacting. Felicia, you're a veteran in Toastmasters. You come to my corporate club, just visiting, and you overhear me giving a presentation, but I'm nervous. How would you present Toastmasters to me?
Excellent question. First of all, I am going to give that person accolades. Great job for stepping past your comfort zone. I'm also going to try to find one or two things that I found very interesting from their speech so that I can build on that. The other opportunity that I would share with them is that I keep my presentation skills fresh and sharp by going to Toastmasters. This is a place that allows me to learn how to speak, how to give feedback, and how to hear people. Depending on the situation, because I work in a corporate environment, I would also tell them it's also how I learn to speak to people in other countries and be conscious of some of the language barriers and learn to speak slower when I'm training and learn to speak faster in some environments, because Toastmasters keeps me conscious of the diversity of people. That's what I would share with them.
Wow.
And there's no fee to come visit. Just stop by.
Great job, Felicia. Thank you all for participating in the table topics discussion. We can go to the next slide, Amanda. Sharing your Toastmasters journey. We all in the helping people grow business. That's what we're here for, to help people grow. Help them grow in their communication skills, help them grow in their leadership skills. As we help the people grow, naturally the club is going to grow. People always say the club. It's the people that make up the club, which forms the identity of that club. So if the people in your club is grumpy and you invited guests to your club, they're going to just see grumpy people. If you're a happy, what did Marie said, group of puppies at 7:30 in the morning with a lot of cup of coffee, I take it they're drinking in that meeting at 7:30 in the morning. The energy, when someone walks into your club, what is the energy? Are they feeling welcome when they walk through that door? anytime I attend a club meeting, that's the first thing I look for. Who is greeting me when I walk through that front door? How do the people make me feel when I walk into that room? Now, many of you may be a part of multiple clubs. You may be part of a club that's doing very well, many members. You may be a part of a club that's struggling. Now, being a dual member in both clubs, you should be sharing the success or the things that they're doing in a successful club with the clubs that are struggling. To be that example, because you're helping the people grow. That's where it comes into sharing the success. Share your success, share your club success. Now, many people may not feel comfortable with sharing their successes. Many people fought against me throughout my career. I don't feel comfortable talking about myself, how I won an award or what we're doing. No one wants to hear that. I want to hear the wins. What is your club doing to win? Are the members competing? Do you have any champions in your club? Do you have some excellent speakers in your club? That's what I look for. If someone comes to me and say, would you like to come to my club, my Toastmasters Club? We meet every Tuesday, and I think you might like it. Would I feel compelled to go to that meeting? Like, oh no, that sounds a little dry there, my friend. Gotta put some excitement in it. I need some excitement, some enthusiasm. Not everyone is like me. Everyone is different. So you have to gauge the person you're speaking to, understanding your leadership style, as Gina mentioned. But someone to approach me, I need some excitement. This is what our club doing. We're competing at a high level. We got 40 members there. We got many people that compete on the district level. We also have people that competed on the international level. I think you'll be a great addition to our club. Would you like to come out? Meet Tuesday, 7 o'clock. Matter of fact, I'm going to save you a seat. I think you'll be great. Now, I'm going to be excited. I'm like, wow, this person is a little overexcited, talking about these great speakers. This shows me this person is willing to serve the club. See, most people look at serving a club as a duty, but as an opportunity. Now, when you're filling a role of an officer of a club, you have to take pride in it. Take pride in any role: club president, VP of membership, sergeant of arms, VP of the secretary, whatever role it is that you're serving a club, you have to take pride in it and make sure you're doing your duty well. If you're a struggling club and you don't have that many officers that's a part of the club, those 2, those 4, those 5, those 8 members can build that club. And that's where you have to sit down. You guys have to make a connection to one another. This is the shared vision of the club. We may have 8 today, but the goal is to have 15 by this date. But if you're not sharing those goals with those that are a part of the club, they'll never know where we're going. They'll never which direction are we going in, up or down. But if we were always talking about the struggles of our club, boo-hoo. No one likes to be a part of a boo-hoo party. So you guys, the commitment that you made to Toastmasters, I can recall my first time going into a district conference. I shared this story with Gina before, that I kind of prejudged everyone that was a part of Toastmasters because I was in the professional speaking world, making money, speaking on different platforms. And someone invited me to Toastmasters, and I was like, what are these guys going to talk about? Okay, what could they teach me? And I went to the district conference, this was about 15 years ago. And when I walked into that conference and I just seen the first night, that Friday, where everyone was dressed up differently, I felt kind of bad because I had a suit on. My wife was dressed up in a dress as well, but everyone was dressed up in the theme of that actual conference. And I started to see how people was excited, the smiles, the laughter. So, wow, this is amazing. Okay. Oh, okay. I like the energy. This is good. We had a table, sat at the table with a group of individuals. Everyone made us feel welcomed as a part of this, our first time as a conference. If it was your first time, if you ever attended a District 84 conference, they give you the first timers badge and a list of things to do. So we're sitting down and the first contest began. And when I started to see the quality of the speakers, my mind was blown away because I was conditioned to think of speakers in one way. But I seen different speakers from all walks of life. And I said, I need to be a part of this because I can learn from these people. I can learn. So my question to you, everyone that's on the call, have you invited anyone to the conference that's coming up in May? Yes, raise your hand if you did. That is a great way for members. If you have a struggling club, so you have 4, 2 members, 8 members within your club, that will be a great way to get people connected by going to the conference. That will cement them into the bigger vision of what the district is about and what is Toastmasters about. So I implore you, go out, invite someone to your club, invite someone to meet the people of your club, make them feel welcome, understand your leadership style, but make sure you're sharing your Toastmasters journey with the people you come in contact with.